So tonight we are thrilled again to welcome back our Jen Wilshaw. Jen is the owner of Higher Fitness and Wellness, which combines the best of her 25 years as a group fitness instructor and certified yoga teacher and seeker of wellness. She leads a class at Westside called Safe on Your Feet, and she is a wealth of knowledge in all fitness areas. And so this is number 2 of a series called Aligned, Well, and New in 2022. And tonight, Jen is going to continue to identify some areas of common movement habits that can contribute to, chronic illnesses and diseases like respiratory problems, brain fog, osteoporosis, poor balance. And she will teach us some simple new movement habits to help improve our circulation, our muscle and bone strength, and overall health. So I'm going to highlight and spotlight Jen, so we'll be able to see her. And Jen, welcome, and thank you again for joining us.
Thank you. Oh, wow. There's a spotlight.
There you are.
Hi, everybody, and welcome back to Aligned, Well, and New in 2022. You see my room here. This is where I do all my stuff. It's wonderful to see so many of you again and some new faces, so welcome. And thank you for being here. So before we begin, I just want to invite those of you who have not yet joined my email community to please do so, because it will keep you apprised of where we are in this 3-part series. I always send out a lot of follow-up information after each presentation to fortify what we've learned. And I don't want you to miss that, because it really serves to clarify things and help you kind of get a reminder of what we went over. So if you go to my website, and it might go into the chat, www.higherfitnessandwellness.com, www.higherfitnessandwellness.com, scroll to the bottom of the homepage, and you will see the option to join my email community. And once you do, you'll then receive all this valuable feedback about how to apply the teachings to your everyday activities. You'll also have access to the links to view the actual presentations at your leisure. So if you missed last month's, you can view that. And finally, my email community is where you may reach out to me with any confidential questions or concerns. So I just want to welcome that to you. All right. So let's briefly review what we discovered last month as it pertains to being aligned, well, and new. So we learned Human Physics 101, and that is how the way we use our bodies often creates degeneration, pain, and disease. And that in a healthy body, three substances flow constantly and seamlessly without hindrance. Anybody remember what those are? Electricity, blood, and lymph. So those 3 substances flow seamlessly in a healthy body. The next thing we discussed was who taught us to move in the first place, and is it harmful or helpful? And finally, we embarked on how to start moving better. And this introduced us to the switch method, SWITCH, switch. And that is the acronym that we are in the process of mastering to make the switch to better whole body health. And that whole body health is a state that allows us to experience less pain, degeneration, and disease. So far, we've been introduced to the S and the W of switch. That was our last presentation. Do you remember what S stands for? Stand more, sit less, but stand and sit better. Stand more, sit less, but stand and sit better. We covered that last week, and that was in all the follow-up emails. So again, if you join in, even at this point, I'll send all of that to you. Remember, friends, that by far, it is our seated habits that are the #1 source of pain, disease, and premature aging. We sit too long, and when we do sit, we tend to sit improperly, and that does a lot of harm. So that's the S of switch. The W is walk for 3 minutes every half hour, or for 6 minutes every hour. I'll say that again. Walk for 3 minutes every half hour, or for 6 minutes every hour with no tech, no phones. And this will keep the blood flowing smoothly, seamlessly, enhance your circulation, get rid of some of those kinks. Okay. Now tonight we cover the I and the T of switch. All right. So the I stands for interval train the eyes. Interval train the eyes with far gazes and side eye challenges. I'll say that again. The I in switch stands for interval train the eyes with far gazes and side eye challenges. And the T that we'll cover tonight in switch stands for tend to tech neck, T-E-C-H, tech neck, this thing. Tend to tech neck, twists, T-W-I-S-T-S, and toes. That's the T. Tend to tech neck, twists, and toes. This will become more clear as we go on, fear not. All right. So let's begin with the I. Interval train the eyes with far gazes and side eye challenges. What does that mean? Well, first of all, interval training, that is a prominent concept in the fitness arena, especially when it comes to improving cardiovascular efficiency, cardiovascular health. It's basically when we alternate 2 types of activities that typically require different amounts of intensity or effort, right? So we take 2 activities that typically require a different amount of effort and intensity, and we just alternate them. We interval train with them. For example, walking and jogging. You might go out for a walk and maybe you'll walk briskly for 3 minutes, and then you'll say, I'm going to push it for a minute and do a gentle jog. Then you go back to 3 minutes of walking. Then you go to 1 minute of jogging. Or maybe you cycle briskly for 5 minutes, and then you get off your bike and you do a little bit of weight training, like some squats for 2 minutes. And then you get back on the bike, and then you do some weight training. So it's these loosely formatted intervals that occur, very loosely formatted, and they enhance our training and keep it interesting. But we can do the same thing. We can apply the same principle to other areas of wellness too, including our eye health and our cognitive health. So myopia, M-Y-O-P-I-A. Myopia is nearsightedness. Myopia or nearsightedness is steadily increasing because we rarely use the muscles of the eyes, specifically the ciliary muscles. We rarely use them in their relaxed, long position of looking at distances. Okay, so myopia or nearsightedness is on the rise. It's moving up and up and up. We experience more of that because we never use the eyes, the muscles of the eyes, in their relaxed, long position of looking at distances. Instead, we create ciliary muscles that are tense and tight and short and overused due to excessive close distance orientation at computers, on tablets and on iPhones. So this dominant movement habit of nearsightedness creates a pretty significant muscle imbalance in the eyes. And that causes those ciliary muscles to rarely engage in farsighted movement, which leads to deterioration of our distance vision, right? So we're all up here on all our tech. So this myopia is taking over, and then we lose the capacity to see far because we're never using the muscles. If we're spending the bulk of our time or our days with eyes focused on devices, and we are, then our eye movements are inadequate, and our capacity to see far decreases more and more and more. And P.S., what's interesting is that whenever we close our eyes to sleep, those ciliary muscles that are already tight and short and overused from the day do not relax and lengthen while we sleep. When we close our eyes, they go back into their short, tight position. They remain tight, they remain contracted all night long. And so this chronic myopia, both during the day and at night, leads to eye strain, eye fatigue, blurred vision, loss of distance vision, and frequent tension headaches. So if you're somebody who struggles with headaches during the day, throughout your workday, or if you've been on your computer and you're seeing a correlation between tension, let me explain to you what's going on there. There's a muscle in your eyebrow region. If I do this, you can see it tensing on me. If I palpate, I can feel it contracting. There's a muscle there called your corrugated supercilii. Thank God I'm not an eye doctor or a neurologist. As we tend to squint during nearsighted habits, that corrugated supercilii tightens and shortens, and that leads to all that tension and those headaches that we recognize. When we're in our nearsighted habits of driving and computering, we also tend to be in a slouched position. That just kind of goes along with it, right? That slouched position, and we tend to assume a forward head posture with a poking chin. When we're in this forward head posture with a poking chin, it reduces circulation to the brain, and that contributes to cognitive decline. So there's a lot that goes on there with the eyes and with our brains. In fact, our challenge is to rescue our eyes and our brains with improved electricity, circulation, and waste removal. And this means using the eyes a lot more than we do, and through different ranges of motion, not just this close eye stuff. So how do we do that? Well, we rest. We have to find ways to rest from our devices, to rest from our screens throughout the day. About every 30 to 60 minutes, much like we try to get up and stand and then walk every 30 minutes for 3 minutes, or every 60 minutes for 6 minutes. We want to give our eyes and our necks a break from that position as well. And we will do this with distant gazes and side-eye challenges. So here's what I encourage. Every 30 to 60 minutes or so, you've been on your computer. I want you could remain seated, but make sure you're sitting properly. And hopefully you have a window. If you have an office, I hope there's a window there so that you can make this work. The goal is to try to find distant visuals and fix the gaze on that. So I'm going to pretend I'm looking really far away. I'll take my glasses off. I pull away from my screen, I get my eyes off the screen, and I want to try to find something as far away as possible. Again, ideally out a window. Fix the gaze, fix your eyes on that object as far away as it could possibly be. And the key is to stare at that for a while, a few minutes. You may even take your gaze as far away as possible, but maybe you'll look up a diagonal. Maybe there's something in the sky you can peer at. You look up diagonally, you look straight ahead. You look left diagonally, and then you look straight ahead. Do you note what I'm not doing? Please do not use your neck to have those far and distant gazes, because it will pull away from what the muscles of the eyes need to do. So we want to practice distant, far distant gazes with the neck still. Just make the eyes do it. Just make the eyes look as far away as they can, and not the neck. And what you can then try to do would be the side eye challenges. So as you're looking far and away, watch my eyes go side to side with no neck movement. I glance to the right. It looks like you're right on the screen. I come back to center. I glance to the left. I come back to center. Side eye challenges, neck, no movement, eyes, nose, chin, straight ahead. Go to the right, center, left, center. How about up, center, glance far away and find a diagonal upward visual. And you see you're getting your eyes off your screen and all that nearsighted visual input. And what you'll find that does is you'll pull away from that activity and your eyes will literally feel wider. And it does relieve tension headaches. It helps to prevent tension headaches. And it improves that muscle usage that we're being deprived of. Now, the interval training of the eyes can be done at various times or intervals throughout the day, preferably as we sit well or stand more. Sometimes you can do it as you walk, but do know that if you're going to do side eye challenges when you walk, that could prevent a little bit of challenge to your balance, because you're changing your visual input. You're changing your visual focus point. And we all know it from Safe on Your Feet that part of what allows us to balance is a steady focal point. So if you're not comfortable practicing this while walking, do it while you're sitting well at the edge of your chair, or do it while you're standing well. And as you're walking, you could actually look straight ahead and try to find something far away, as far as you can. Just gaze at that. Gaze at that. Get your eyes off the immediate here and now. Friends, this is how we stack. Take that term down. We stack all of these movement habits that we're learning. You're going to stack your movement. We're not devoting more hours to movement. Rather, we're using more movement in each hour. You dig what I'm saying? You can add more movement to your seated time. Sit well, sit properly, interval train your eyes. You've added more movement to that time without devoting more hours, okay? And more movement makes all this good stuff sustainable. And sustainable leads to compliance and to permanent lifestyle changes in the form of better alignment, fewer aches and pains, and improved whole body health. All right, so that's interval training the eyes. So easy, so easy. Just get your eyes off your screen and start practicing some of those ranges of motion. Jot down questions, put them in the chat or save them for the end, and we'll go over all of this, okay, if you have any concerns. Let's get to the T in switch. So the T, again, stands for 10 to tech neck, twists, and the toes. A lot of T's. Let's first talk tech neck. So tech neck is a movement habit characterized by forward head posture, poking chin, and rounded shoulders to naturally accommodate. And it is cultivated entirely by the sedentary, dysfunctional postures of our technological society, entirely. Computers, tablets, and phones not only promote excessive sitting, but also produce damaging postural habits. Let me teach you something about the weight of your head and how this can damage the spine and contribute to tech neck. So the head, most people's head is about 12 pounds, 10 to 12 pounds, but most 12 pounds. When I have my head in what's called neutral position, it is slightly back. Now, I'm not making a dramatic chin tuck, but my head is back so that my head and neck are in line with my spine, and basically the earlobes are floating over the shoulders. That's called neutral neck alignment. And in this position, my head is 12 pounds, so is yours. Now, when we engage in all these nearsighted habits with computers and even driving, everything changes because of that forward head posture. A forward head posture of only 2 inches, 2 inches out of neutral, about here. That 12-pound head, 2 inches forward out of neutral, now weighs 32 pounds. 32 pounds. I see eyes that just jumped up on me. Like, am I telling the truth? Yeah. Hi, Lynn. Yes, a 12-pound head, just 2 inches forward out of neutral, from neutral, is now 32 pounds. And when we poke that head and neck and chin about 3 to 4 inches forward, which is what we do a lot at computers, right? Now that 12-pound head is 42 pounds. And we wonder why our necks are killing us, and we have tension headaches, and our shoulders ache and our backs ache. That's a lot of weight that we're asking that delicate area to hold in space and to suspend. Okay, so that 12-pound head really starts weighing quite a bit more. Now, when we multiply this postural misalignment by even a few hours a day, 365 days a year, we are asking for pain and deterioration in the form of pinched nerves, herniated discs, osteoporosis, because when your head is out here, the rest of your spine can't feel its mass. So you lose bone mineral density. Spinal degeneration like stenosis, foggy head, cognitive decline, right? Because the blood flow is inadequate when we're geometrically set this way. It also leads to swallowing problems, challenges with your swallowing, if you've encountered that. Swallowing is movement. Remember, movement refers to all of our non-exercise activities. Swallowing is movement. And difficulty with swallowing and choking while eating are real issues for people who have head and neck postures like this. Stroke patients, if you've had any bony changes in your spine and you're kind of stuck here, you're a little bit more prone to choking. Tilting the head down or out while eating changes the geometry of swallowing. It literally changes how these tubes sit. It changes the geometry. Look at my neck here, and if I chew and I try to swallow that, it has to go eat, eat, eat. It's not smooth. It's just not smooth. Food cannot move properly because faulty head postures mechanically damage over time the blood vessels and muscles of the neck and the throat. That's why stroke patients have such difficulty with swallowing, with chewing. They usually have to go on a modified diet if the stroke is severe. I work with stroke patients, and a lot of times the head is stuck here permanently. We can't fix that, and there are a lot of challenges with choking, even on beverages. Okay? So what do? The simple but very potent solution to this is called ramping up. Ramping up, or you might want to remember it as chin tucks. It's a lot easier. Ramping up or chin tucks. That's the solution. Ramping up or chin tucks literally realign the head and the neck and lengthen the spine, literally pull on the spine, stretching the muscles that are too tight at the back of the neck and strengthening the muscles that are too weak. So when we're here in these postures, the muscles at the back of my neck, look at them. They're going to be tight, right? Because what is being suspended forward? A 12-pound head that now weighs 42 pounds. These guys are saying, holy cow, I got to hold you in space. So they tighten up, they get super tight and there's pain. And these guys, the neck flexors, weaken. And that contributes to choking. So how do we perform this? We actually did this in our first presentation when we were looking to identify, areas in the body that are suffering from lack of circulation. Chin tucks, all the safe on your feeders know it. We do it all the time. Chin tucks allow for that proper posture and head and neck alignment. And again, pull and lengthen the spine back to a more vital position. Very, very easy. We want to look straight ahead. Eyes, nose, chin on the horizon. There's no looking up. There's no looking down. We tuck the chin. We make a double chin. It will not give you a double chin. It's actually going to help to tone these muscles and remove excess fluid from the area. So we chin tuck. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we release. Chin tuck. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Really good, Beverly. Good. Chin tuck. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You may hear or feel crackling and crunching up the back of your neck. You might feel a pulling sensation, and that's good. That means we're getting circulation there. We're getting nutrition there. We're getting waste out, and we're doing something that is obviously needed, because even though we hear that crunch, crackle, we say it's normal, but it's not healthy. We say it's normal because everybody has it, but it's not healthy. All right. So this is an area that gets very deprived of that nutritious circulation, electricity, and waste removal. But as long as you can chin tuck, hold for 5 seconds without any pain, do it. Do it as much as you can. And again, how do you stack it? I'm not asking you to add more to your day in terms of hours doing exercise or movement. You stack chin tucks while you're at your desk. How about you move away from your screen, do a few chin tucks, release, and then some side-eye challenges, right? Some distant vision, some distant focal points. And then you do another chin tuck. It's just about incorporating more movement into your hours. Yeah. I will do chin tucks. If you find me at a red light, I will always be chin tucking. I chin tuck 5 seconds and I release until the light turns green. And if you hear a lot of crunching and crackling, it means that that area is in need of that circulation and that movement. So that is tending to the tech neck, how we tend to the tech neck. So we've talked about interval training the eyes, tending to tech neck. Now we're going to talk about twists and toes, the last elements of the T. All right, ready to do the twist? So twists. Let me sit here so you can see me twist. Oh, that sitting is no good. Twists. So each vertebrae or vertebra in the spine is meant to bend forward. That's what the vertebrae do. Bend backward, bend side and side. But they're also meant to rotate or twist. Of all the natural movements of the spine that I just demonstrated, rotation or twisting is the least used in our culture. Think about how you sit all day. We rarely rotate. And the result of this deprivation of rotation is as follows. Tight, rigid muscles around the ribs. Everything gets very tight and restricted. Tight, rigid muscles around the back, like the thoracic spine, the middle back. Lack of movement. Weak abdominals, back spasms, back pain, respiratory restriction, because everything in this area is tight, it's rigid, it's in this same constant fixed position and not rotating. It also means a less defined waist and cardiovascular stress from plaque accumulation and a heart that is being taxed to beat harder and faster than it should to compensate for the rotational muscles in this area that are not helping the heart to circulate blood. This is a big deal, huh? Whoever thought heart health had anything to do with your capacity to rotate? But we've talked about this all along. Until we use muscles, these areas will be deprived of circulation, electricity, and lymph, and it burdens the heart. It's so much harder on the heart to do everything. In our first presentation, we said that electricity, blood, and lymph must be able to flow seamlessly throughout the body in order for us to avoid inflammation, disease, degeneration, and pain. Do you recall what we must do in order for that seamless flow to occur? Use muscle. We must use the muscles for all of that good stuff to happen. But here's the trick. Here's the glitch. Until a muscle is at its correct length, and that means that it's both strong and flexible enough to move, we won't be able to use it. We won't be able to use the muscle. And that means if we're not using the muscle because it's not strong and flexible, we never really get that electrical flow, circulation, and waste removal from the area or to that area. So what does this have to do with practicing twists and rotations to prevent cardiovascular overload? The abdominal aorta. This was so interesting when I learned this. The abdominal aorta is the most susceptible vessel to plaque accumulation. And it has everything to do with our limited waist and spinal mobility. Limited waist and spinal mobility. When this doesn't occur, there's minimal circulation, we're not using the muscles, and plaque accumulates in the abdominal aorta. We just noted that that rotation is barely used in our culture, right? It's the least used of the spinal movements. And so we're all left with really tight midsections, with tons of muscles not being used or activated. And we know what happens. If the muscles aren't used or activated, there are a lot of problems in that area. And this is precisely why inappropriate pressure and plaque build up in that abdominal aorta and thus stress the entire cardiovascular system. It's a circulation thing, friends, and a muscle thing. The simple but very potent solution to all of this is called spinal twists. Now, spinal twists may be done in a variety of positions, from standing, from seated, from supine or lying on your back. I'm going to demonstrate it from seated because it keeps things simple and it correlates to our everyday activities. It will make this accessible to you, which means you're going to do it. Okay. Now, I will say if you're doing yoga, you're already experiencing twists and rotations, and that's really healthy. Okay, so let me demonstrate the seated spinal twist. You will sit at the edge of a chair. That's how we should be sitting anyway, at the edge of a chair. Your feet are close together. Your ankles are directly under your knees, and your knees then are in line with your hips. And all I want you to work on doing, it's very gentle, it's very slow, it's not ballistic, is practice rotating. I'm just going to do this. Practice rotating to one side. Notice that my hips don't rotate. The rotation is coming from my waist and my abdominals. My shoulders will rotate, as will my head and neck, but you're sitting directly on your butt cheeks with the hip bone straight ahead. Come back to center, and then you try it the other way. Seated spinal twists. Now, less is more with this, friends. Let me show you what a lot of people do. We've been instructed sometimes in classes, but I want to just offer you an alternative. This will be more evident if I'm in a chair. Did you ever get the cue in a class to spinal twist and hold on to the chair or even do this? Does that look familiar to anyone? You kind of hold an object and the instructor might say, grab your chair and then rotate. I discourage you from doing that because if you grab a chair to assist in your rotation, then it's entirely your arms doing it. It's much less waste. It's less waist mobility than you think. It becomes an arm strength thing. I want your mobility to come truly from this midsection, in and around the ribs, the obliques, your waistline. So less is more. Let the arms relax, sit tall, and then when you choose a direction, try to exhale on the twist. I'm not using my arms to help me twist. This means all the work is going to come from the appropriate area. Try the other side. Inhale at center. Exhale, twist. Now, stack it. You're probably thinking, she's asking so much of me. No, just stack it. Stack it. This can all be done together. Sit well. You're at your desk. I've been at my desk too long. Eyes off the screen. Interval train the eyes. Right, center, left, center, no neck movement. Up, center, go distant, go distant. Ah, how about a chin tuck? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. How about another chin tuck? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, I could spinally rotate. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And you could use your arms like so. I don't mind as long as you're not tugging and pulling on the chair or your limbs. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Just hold it gently. Hold it gently. You see how you're stacking? It's not more time. It's not more time. It's just more movement at one time. Yeah. Now, let me just discuss really fast twists and rotations for those with osteoporosis or osteopenia. You may have been told by a physical therapist or your doctor, you have osteoporosis in your spine, or you have osteopenia in your spine. And a lot of times rotation becomes contraindicated. And I offer that cue as well. This spinal rotation is so slow and so gentle. It's not ballistic, like, when you're in some classes, it's not that. If you have osteopenia or osteoporosis, ballistic quick motions at your waist, ballistic quick rotations and twists are highly contraindicated. But this is so gentle and your spine is meant to rotate. Just take it through your comfortable pain-free range of motion. Hold it for 3 to 5 seconds. Exhale as you twist. And come on back. And there's no need to do 10 per side. You're just going to do a few of these every hour or so, or when you're sitting. If you're concerned, though, feel free to check with your doctor or PT about that rotation. But typically, it's safe when it's gentle and slow like that. All right, so we've talked interval training the eyes. We've tended to technique. We've tended to twists. Let's finish up by tending to our toes, our tootsies. All right, so 25%. Get out of my chair. 25% of the muscles, 25% of the number of muscles and bones in the body are below the ankle. 25%. 25%. And this means that there is a lot of valuable tissue not being used because we confine our feet to shoes all day. And just breathe. I know there's a lot of issues with neuropathy. I have that too. So I hear you. I empathize. I more than sympathize. I empathize. Hear me out on this and we'll talk about all the options. Shoes cast the feet and the toes. They cast it. Basically, they restrict movement of all those bones, all those joints, all those muscles. Think about a cast on a broken arm, right? It's designed to prevent movement. And for good reason. There's something broken. But what happens when the cast is removed? We see atrophy. The skin has changed color. The tone and texture of the skin has changed. The muscle has gotten smaller and wizened up. It's weak. It's no different for the tissues of the feet and toes. When they're casted all day in a shoe, the same thing happens to them because they can't move. Think of it this way. The muscles of the feet are designed to be as dexterous as the hands. And people find that hard to believe, but it's true. And the muscles of and the toes are meant to be as dexterous as the fingers. So your feet should be as dexterous as your hands, and the toes should be as dexterous as the fingers. Imagine how ineffective we would be if we slipped shoes on our hands all day and we went out and about trying to do activities of daily living, dial a phone, drive, chop carrots. Well, we habitually handicap our feet and toes exactly the same way every single day, every hour of the day with footwear. This is why a good podiatrist will often tell parents, keep shoes off your child as long as possible. I know those little baby Nikes are so cute and tiny and for 3 months old, but the best thing you can do is, and I'm not a podiatrist, keep shoes off your children as long as possible, because once we get into shoes, we get into this lifelong cycle of casting. And then by the time we've reached a certain point, it's not because we've turned 65 that we don't function well with our feet, or that we're in chronic pain, or we have bunions and hammer toes. It's that we've had a lifetime of dormant activity. So the result is of that handicapping, 1 in 4 of us struggles every single day with chronic foot discomfort. 1 out of 4 of us. This means foot pain, plantar fasciitis, bunions, hammer toes, discoloration of the feet, the toes, and the nail beds, venous insufficiency, neuropathy, and poor balance plague millions of people. And now you know why. We know why. When the tissues of the feet and toes are not being used, they're casted, what happens? It's all coming full circle. Poor electricity, poor circulation, horrible waste removal. None of it happens. And that leads to, over time, degenerative changes in the foot and pain and dysfunction. When we begin to take off our shoes more often and walk barefoot, if that's permissible and allowed for you, you can even walk in socks. Socks make it better as well. We will begin to reactivate the muscles of the feet. In addition, I highly encourage wearing toe spreaders. Toe spreaders. Everything matches. Toe spreaders for just a few minutes every day. Toe spreaders will restore what shoes take away. And that is the lost art of toe spreading, right? Our shoes do this. Ladies, if you're in those high heels, and I love them too, they're really nice and they're cute, but you can't spread your toes. Your toes are what's called adducted. They're all stuck together. We want to abduct them and stretch them. Toe spreaders restore that lost art. So we teach tight toes how to spread again, or how to splay, by using the muscles of the toes and feet as we have never used them, maybe ever. And this will drastically, when you start spreading the toes, drastically improve circulation and function, waste removal, and the neurology or electricity from our brains to our feet. And the results can be dramatic. There can be resolution, not a curing, resolution and much better management of many problematic issues of the feet: chronic pain, plantar fasciitis, discolored and disfigured toes and feet, improved balance. Friends, if our toes can't spread, we can't balance. If our toes can't spread, we can't balance. And it also improves, the toe spreading, improves venous insufficiency and neuropathic symptoms. I'm telling you, I have neuropathy. Don't need to get into the whys, doesn't matter. I put my toe spreaders on, and I even had a couple procedures to try to make the things a little bit better. It worked modestly. These go on my toes every morning for an hour while I'm doing like my praying and journaling and stuff. They're on for an hour. They're on for an hour at night. My neuropathy is not cured, but it is so much better. So much better. I used to get into my sneakers at the beginning of the day, and there it was. I felt like I was walking on bubble wrap. There it was, cramping. There it was. This has changed everything. Now, what you want to understand is that I didn't start there. I'll go over that in a second. I now do it for an hour twice a day. I didn't start there. Let me just say that these toe spreaders are available, well, usually at any drugstore. You know, it's what they use for a pedicure. But if you don't want to be barefoot and you don't want to use toe spreaders on your toes, you can use, you can find socks with toe spreaders. That's also an option. They're available on Amazon, of course, and they are known as Happy Feet socks. Happy Feet socks. So if you'd rather be in a sock to protect your foot, but also be able to spread the toes, Happy Feet socks. If you want to try the toe spreaders without the socks, look for something on Amazon called Yoga Toes. Yoga Toes. Both can be used every day as you sit and relax. But remember my hour thing, I didn't start there. I recommend starting, which is what I did, with very short, frequent bouts. I started with 5 minutes a day, about 3 times a day, because your toes aren't going to even recognize this. They're used to this, which means the muscles need time to adapt slowly. There's going to be a lot of barking back when you make your toes spread. It shouldn't be painful. It might be mildly uncomfortable. You might say, wow, this feels weird, but it should be something that you can tolerate at least 5 minutes. And then you might inch along to 10 minutes and say, I'm not quite ready for that. With consistency, with tenacity, you'll build up your tolerance. Those muscles will overload gradually with the toe spreaders and adapt. It's a principle called overload and adaptation. It happens in any modality of fitness. You just got to train your tootsies again. You have to train the muscles of the feet because they haven't contracted in that way, again, in years, if ever. So be patient and the function will be so much better. Feel free to consult, of course, with your doctor, your physician, your podiatrist before wearing toe spreaders. I personally do not recommend sleeping in them. You'll hear people say, I sleep in them, and it works great. I'm concerned about falling. You know, if you get up in the middle of the night and you're groggy, you have to go to the bathroom, you're going to forget that you have toe spreaders on. And the thing about the toe spreaders, they can just fall right off. And that's a tripping hazard. That's a fall. Excuse me. That's a fall risk. So feel free to engage, to look into that. If you say, I don't want anything on my toes, then take your fingers and all you have to do is intertwine your fingers into your toes and just gently spread your toes. And then take your version of toe spreading, whether it's with toe spreaders, your fingers, or with those Happy Feet socks, and stack it with the other movement habits you've learned. You can sit well at the end of your chair with good posture, proper alignment. Add some interval training with the eyes, no neck movement. Look far and away, a couple chin tucks, a rotation here or there. You've got your toes spreading. And you will be getting aligned well and new so easily and so effortlessly in the comfort of your home or office with neither fancy equipment nor financial burden. We can do this, but change requires change. A change in how we take the time that we already have and just add some movement to it. Okay, so until next time, let's continue to get better. Let's continue to get better by tending to the S, the W, the I, and the T of our switch method. S, stand more, sit less, but stand and sit better. W, walk for 3 minutes every half hour or for 6 minutes every hour with no tech. Interval train the eyes with far gazes and side eye challenges. Keep the neck still. And tend to tech neck, twists, and toes. And then next month, part 3, we will complete our journey together, learning the C and the H of our switch method. So let's continue to give ourselves grace until then, as we make changes toward better alignment and higher fitness and wellness. And remember that we are in this together. I am here for you in any capacity, and God is so for us. He loves this stuff. He loves this stuff and he blesses our efforts, and I bless you.
Wow, Jen, thank you so much. Wow, so much great information. We have just a few minutes and a couple of questions have come up in the chat that I'd like to ask people were asking about. So this is a great question. This is referring to the neck.
Mhm.
What about twists, flexion, and lateral stretching to the neck in addition to chin tucks? Would these be beneficial?
Yes. Who's out there who knows all this cool anatomy and physiology? Is there a PT or something? Yeah. Chin tucks. So chin tucks allow us to tend to that tech neck. Lateral flexion is this way. Rotation is this way. Like the spine, the cervical spine has a lot of ranges of motion it's capable of. Flexion is this way. And extension is this way. All of them count because, again, we're not moving the neck adequately. But when we talk about tech neck in particular, the chronic poking here, because of that muscle imbalance that occurs that I described, these get so tight, the neck extensors, suspending the head in space, and these neck flexors get so weak, we really want to incorporate the chin tucks. But yes, absolutely, your other ranges of motion of lateral flexion, rotation, extension, do it all.
Great, wonderful. And another question, is there a recommended breathing technique as you walk? Inhaling through the nose, exhaling through the mouth? Is there any specific alignment and way to walk?
When walking. So it depends on the walking. If it's a gentle walk and you're out to just get movement, accumulate some steps, practice some of the far away gazing, work on neck retraction. Yes, friends, you can. Nobody cares. Believe me, I've done weird things in public. People are like, wow. They don't say, are you okay? They're like, wow, why do you do that? You'll teach, you'll plant seeds. Good disciples, not my disciples, you know who. So if it's a gentle walk, gentle breathing in through the nose and out through the mouth is nice because it keeps you in that real kind of parasympathetic state. If you're out on a fitness walk, if you're power walking, then it becomes more of a mouth breathing thing. Essentially, the more your heart rate elevates, if this is a fitness endeavor, the higher your heart rate is, the more respiratory demand there is, the higher your rate of respiration. You got to start getting into more mouth breathing. So it's really a question of intensity. Gentle walking, get the kinks out, get a stress buster, practice some of these movement habits. In through the nose, out through the mouth is great. Otherwise, more intensity, mouth breathe.
Great. Other than tons of thank yous and excellent presentation and things make so much sense, one more question perhaps I can ask. When you speak about twisting at the waist, and you said there are other movements that the spine needs to do, what might they be?
So the other movements that the spine can do would be those other natural movements I described. So, well, my students know this. Unless you're doing yoga and like the cow postures, I don't encourage bending forward. This is spinal flexion. But we don't, safe on your feeders, we don't bend that way, right? When we're picking things up, we bend at the hips, bottom back, feet wide. We never pick something up with spinal flexion because that can damage the back. But you can practice spinal flexion on all fours or like a cat-cow. Spinal extension is really great too. It can be done seated or standing. We've done it in class. Think of hands through your back pocket. Oh, extend your spine. Our spine spends a lot of time in flexion at a computer, hours. We rarely spinal extend. So that's fine to do as well. Just spinal extend to your point of comfort and avoid thrusting your hips forward. So this is correct. My hips stay still. It's not this. You want your hips to be still. And then you can do this lateral flexion of your spine and then your rotation.
Mm.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
All of it counts.
Wonderful, wonderful. Okay, well, being mindful of our time, we are at that 8:30 mark already. Jen, thank you for such a wonderful presentation. I can't wait for the next one, which will be in March 23rd. March 23rd.
Same date, 23rd.
Yeah, there you go. So same spot, we'll send out information. I did put Jen's email in the chat feature. I made a mistake with the first one, and so use the one that I wrote correction. And that way Jen can get you the other information as well.
Mhm.
And next week will be a live streamed at Westside, and it's for Ash Wednesday. So 7:30, if you'd like to join us, we'd love to have you come. And until that time, thank you so much for being here. And as we say, be well. Thank you.
I'll look at you far and away.
Thank you. That was wonderful.
Thank you. Donna?
Yes. Yes.
Did you asked about desk chair?
Yes.
In what regard? Whether you can do these exercises or something else?
Well, I mean, just that's ergonomically, yeah, good for, do you have any recommendations? Or you just have to sit in them and,
Sit in them, experiment, and
yeah,
still in a desk chair, even though they're ergonomically labeled as this is
Yeah.
your Western solution, you still have to sit properly.
right, right. And
yeah.
also the safe on your feet, that's going at Westside.
It is. We're
Yeah.
back
Okay, in person.
in person every Tuesday and Thursday, 12:15 to 1
Okay,
o'clock.
I just saw that on the website. Great. I might see you.
Oh, good. Look forward to it. Thanks. Hi,
Uh,
Lucy. Hi, Anita. Hi, Beverly.
Thank you so much.
I can unspotlight you and you can see people even more.
Oh,
There you go.
wow. Look at all those faces.
Okay, thank you everyone for coming, and we
thank
look forward
you.
to the next time.